Welcome back to Weekends with Joanne Vrakas on CJAD 800. Bill 96, the big question mark. So many issues, so many questions. Who can access English language services? How, when, and why? It's a big head scratcher, but we have, I hope, some answers for you. Maître Frédéric Bérard, who is a partner at GBM Lawyers, is joining me now. Maître Bérard, thank you for taking the time.
My pleasure.
Okay, so the first big question I think the listener has is what's going to happen to someone, let's say, who is older, who is Anglophone, unilingual, and who needs to access any kind of public service in English? What happens to that person?
Well, depending on what services, but what Premier Legault said since the beginning is that it didn't change anything at all for Anglophones. I'm not quite sure that this is the case because they are restricting some services in certain way in a very, very strange manner. In the
How
sense that
How so?
in the sense that the bill is not clear. I mean, it's quite confused. They don't have clear direction. So I think that unfortunately we're going to learn more about it with practices, which means that at one point we're going to see some kind of jurisprudential cases because the courts will have to probably clear what the National Assembly did not clear at first.
Yeah, I'm looking at my notes here, and Jean-François Roberge, Quebec's Minister of the French Language, said we won't leave anyone in danger. This is a quote, and they said and followed up by saying that a few good faith questions will be asked of someone who is asking to have access to the services in English. Is there a rule book for this? Is there a guidance, or is this all up in the air right now?
You know what? To put it very frankly and bluntly, I think that this government is probably one of the worst we've seen in the recent years, in the sense that they are, as we say in French, pretty brouillon. It's never like
a draft.
It's always confused. I mean, they do it like on a corner table corner, sorry, and which translate into those bills is that the justiciable is not aware of what's going on. So I'll go back to my first answer. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wait, and there will probably be like very, very sensitive cases where maybe older people will not get their health services as they could imagine because of that directive. Those directives, would probably be like unclear.
Yeah, they're planning for an exceptions for Indigenous people and people who have the right to English language schooling in Quebec. So you look at that, and then it says immigrants can also be served in another language for the first 6 months only. So there is, I guess, some. They're trying to clarify things. However, the question remains here, and I don't even know, Maître Bérard, if you have the answer to this. They say people who have the right to English language school in Quebec. How would you prove that on the spot? I mean, are we carrying a card? How does that work? How does that work in your lawyer's brain? How does that work?
See, that's precisely what I'm saying. When you live in a society which is based on the rule of law, you have to make sure that all the bills are clear and the norms are clear and everyone knows what's going on. Here we don't. As for the Anglos' right to school, to education in English, don't forget one thing. It's always very complicated to know who's eligible and who is not.
Very complicated, yes.
So think about it. Somebody's is going to the hospital for maybe not emergency, but anyway, from some services, and that person will have to prove that she would probably be eligible to English. What the hell is that? I mean, it's not serious at all. It takes like time. It takes months. Sometimes it takes years. I do represent Anglos sometimes who have problem with their certificate. So I'm quite sure that they will not be able to solve that. And think about the poor, I don't know, let's say the nurse, for instance, will be trying to apply the directive that we gave her. I mean, she will be just unable to do a fair job. Let's say that.
Yeah. So again, because it seems so complicated, and I'm trying to provide some clarity to the listener here, who is probably scratching his or her head right now, as am I, as are you. It turns out, Maître Bérard. What is the long term goal here? Do you think that the government is trying for clarity, or at this point just trying to throw everything all together and hoping that the recipe works out? How do you see this from a legal perspective? Est-ce que c'est du n'importe quoi, basically, is my question.
Well, actually, this is a big n'importe quoi. And to be frank with you, I mean, it's the political game they're playing right now. And they wanted to show the Francophone majority that the gouvernement caquiste will be like quite hard on the Anglos and on immigrants, and here in Quebec it's in French and blah 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 blah. You know those songs. And the thing is that they decided to do that, but in a manner that will lead to several judicial contestation. The challenges, there's always some of them who are going on. I represent some cities who are in front of the Superior Court because of that. And I would certainly say also, and I think it's important to remind that, when we order immigrants to learn French in 6 months, I mean, each and every expert will tell you that it's just impossible to learn French within the 6 months. So in a way, there's a lot of bad faith that you could probably add to the political game I just talked to you about.
Maître Bérard, what is, if I'm confused right now, and I am, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yes, you are, but I'm confused as well.
Yeah. So what do you say to an English language? Let's be specific here. People who have the right to English language school in Quebec. What do you say to that person who is looking to feel comforted in knowing that they will continue to have access in English? Is it really as bad and as worrisome as it looks like if you look at the bill, or what do you say to them?
Well, it goes back to what I said. We do ask our National Assembly to pass bills that are understandable in the first way. This is not the case of Bill 96. This is a bill that was botched for political reason. And unfortunately, if I was an Anglo in Quebec right now, I would not be pleased at all, because there is no certainty about what's going on, to be frank with you.
Well, that is a very clear message there. Maître Frédéric Bérard, we've run out of time. Again, you're a partner at GBM Lawyers. Come back anytime, and as we try to figure this out, we'll lean heavily on you for some answers.
All right, for you, but I'll be there. For sure.
All right, have a great weekend.
You too, bye-bye.
All right, don't go anywhere. You're listening to Weekends with Joanne Vrakas on CJAD 800.